Hi, welcome to another Roboflow training movie. In this training movie, we are going to talk about watch folders and how to deal with very large catalogs. As you know, a watch folder synchronizes a folder and its files and subfolders to a Cumulus catalog. The idea is that whatever new files, update files, moved files, or deleted files are in that folder structure, this is automatically synchronized to a Cumulus catalog. This is very often used in a production environment. This is not so useful for environments where it's an archive, where you drop files and you're done with them. If they're no longer changing and just put there, then you might consider looking at a hot folder workflow instead of a watch folder workflow. However, in some cases, this might be useful to do it this way if you do not want to move the file to its final location, but want to keep it in the location where it is today. As a golden rule, it is not very useful to or efficient to have watch folders watch more than, for instance, 50,000 to 100,000 files. Anything higher than that, and depending, of course, of the speed of your network, or if it's a local drive or a network drive, if it's fiber or a slower connection, these numbers might vary and could be lower or higher, but as a thumb rule, a watch folder should not be watching anything more than 100,000 files. That being said, in that case, I usually suggest to split up the catalog into, for instance, a catalog per year. There can be reasons why you cannot do that split up. For instance, if you want to use relationships, automatic relationships between documents like an InDesign file and its images, these things need to be in the same catalog. So in that case, you cannot split up the catalogs if you are using images from last year in a new InDesign document. For that reason, Roboflow gives you the ability in a watch folder to watch sections of a catalog. So instead of having one watch folder maintaining a whole catalog, you can have 8 watch folders, for instance, maintaining one catalog, or you can have one watch folder maintaining only a part of the catalog. You can see here that we have here a catalog of more than 800,000 records, and the idea is that actually it's filled up per year, and when the year is done, those files of the previous year are no longer changed. So it is an archive. So what the system does is it has a watch folder, and in this watch folder we added a little extra feature, and that is that we're watching the normal root folder where there's more than 800,000 files. We're putting it in one catalog, but in the folder filter, and don't mind this part, this has nothing to do with this, we specify that we only want to process files that are in the root folder 2015. So if you specify one exclamation mark, it will only catalog files that are in a folder called 2015. If you specify 2 exclamation marks, it means that it will only catalog files that have as a root folder 2015. The name of the folder they're residing in underneath this 2015 is of no influence, and so that is accepted. So that is one way. So that way if you have a large folder structure, it only looks at that particular folder for now. So this year or last year or whatever, you can do it that way. And here we can you have to add an additional parameter called hot query. It's a fixed name, you have to use that name. It's a name that the workflow looks for, and if this query exists, it means that it will add this functionality to only look at the records that reside in the category 2015, and I added also web sandbox, so you can add whatever filter. I have here only the files I want to be watching with this watch folder is underneath here, and I actually only want the ones that are in the folder 2015 underneath web sandbox archive. So that's how in your query you can refine what he's looking for. So he will not be verifying the complete 800,000 records. He's just going to look at a few hundred files or a few thousand files from 2015. Now, this is the hard-coded way of doing it, and that is fine. But you could also say, you could here come in here and say, I want to use year. So during the year 2015, I only want to catalog the files from 2015, in which case you would specify here year. And okay, and in the same way, you would only specify here. Here too, you would not say 2015, but you would say year. So while you are in 2015, it would only process the files that are in the folders of 2015. So that's how that can work. And now you can have here one watch folder, or you can have multiple watch folders for the same catalog, watching different areas and cataloging different areas into Cumulus. And so that is what you can do. That is what is happening. That's how you can filter your records and fill up your records. So here you can say, I'm, for instance, only looking at the creative assets, which is yet another part of the catalog that you are watching. So I hope this made it a little bit clearer. If you have large catalogs, preferably do not use too big catalogs for watch folders, but if you have to, you can also partially update. In this case, partially meant that we're no longer looking at stuff from older years because they're not changing, but it could also be that you have maybe a watch folder per department. Maybe you have a company-wide catalog where your subcategories and your folder structure on disk is organized per department, in which case you could easily define this with several watch folders per department, and with the query as a starter for that particular header, describing it as 2000, describing it with the name of that category, filtering out only those records, and each watch folder then has its separate part. You can also, in that case, if you have multiple watch folders and you need to hook them into a certain place in the category tree, you can do that as well. Notice that if I look here on disk, sorry, wrong disk. No, not wrong disk. If I look here on the disk, I have here I have here folders I have here different folders, but my other folder here is underneath a subfolder, in which case I can cut off a piece that I don't want to bring into my subfolder structure. So that's how you can do that from the from the folder perspective. You can say I have a starting point, and then you can say that you want to skip these two folders, for instance, that it doesn't need to create those two folders as categories. And in another watch folder workflow, it could be that you're watching a completely different disk where you're cutting off 4 pieces of the watch folder, which then creates the department. Another department could be on another disk that has maybe a couple of other folders in front of it that you want to trim off and not see in Cumulus. So you can play around with that as well. Another solution that you can do is, if you don't like the folder names of the root folder, you can strip off that with this parameter, and then here you can simply add and type and say my root, for instance, and then it will create a category called my root, or this could be my department or whatever, underneath all our sources or underneath all our categories, or it could be another master category. So lots of options to play around with. Key element is that a watch folder is there to be fast, and so to keep it fast you need to optimize the area it is watching. A watch folder can run on an interval based, which means it can say, for instance, 30 seconds. This means it will start running in the morning. When it's finished, it will sleep 30 seconds, then it runs again, etc., etc. This is one option. Another option is to run it event driven. That means that it listens to the file system and only processes changes on the file system. This option cannot be used together with this additional hot query parameter. So you cannot combine this hot query with an exclamation mark -3. So this is it cannot run event driven because the events are cannot be filtered based on a Cumulus query, the file events. So when you are here watching a certain area, it gets all events from this area, and the event driven will process all events from that area. An additional watch folder hot query will not solve that, but you can use it if you have a normal catalog of, let's say, up to 100,000 records. Then it is a very good idea because it's much faster. It updates, it gets the events within about 10 seconds and then processes them, which could mean that within a minute it could be updating records or cataloging new files that came in, while in the polling system, in the normal watch folder system, if you have 100,000 files, it has to compare 100,000 files to 100,000 records, which can take half an hour, 5 minutes. It all depends on the speed of your server and if your network access or where your files reside are local or on a fast or slow network connection. So thank you for joining. I hope this is useful for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.